Good morning, everybody. Welcome into a Football Friday edition of Birds 365. That's John McMullen. I'm your host, Zander Krause. We're getting ready for Week 3 now. The Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New Orleans Saints. Week 3 started last night, Johnny Mac, with the Jets on the TV. Jets versus Patriots. Aaron Rodgers looking like himself again a little bit.
How about that? How about that? League should be scared.
Yeah, man. He looked good last night. How you doing on this Friday morning, J-Mac?
Doing well, yeah. And I think, you bring up Aaron Rodgers. Didn't know you were going to go there, but, pretty impressive because there aren't many people that can do the things that he can do at the line of scrimmage. That Mel Kiper comment about banning cover 2 kind of took off yesterday, which is laughable. But, the reason why is because these idiots at the line of scrimmage can't handle things, and, they can't react to something like that. And, when somebody can do it, it just looks different. And you saw that last night.
Yep. It takes a great quarterback, a very competent quarterback to handle it. And you saw it last night with Aaron. I think he was like 27-35 or something, Johnny Mac, last night for a couple touchdowns. So he really had a good game. How about that interaction he had with the coach? I didn't see it in real time, but I saw it on Twitter, and I didn't know whether to make something of it or if it was just one of those things that looked a little awkward on camera.
I think it was just the awkward man hug. He explained it after that. Robert Saleh talks a lot about 2-score games. You want to get to a 2-score game, obviously, from a coaching perspective, and he kind of trying to push him and said 2-score, hyped up a little.
Yeah, right.
But ultimately, he's a coach anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get into our Philadelphia Eagles. We'll have a great show planned, by the way, for everybody. We have Ed Kratz coming up in hour number 1. Game day Ed. So we'll get Ed in here in hour number 1. He'll give us his prediction and breakdown, preview really this Eagles-Saints game, which is going to be an uphill battle, I think, for this Philadelphia Eagles team coming off a tough loss, tough Saints team coming in. So me and Johnny Mac will preview it a little bit, then we'll get Ed in hour number 1, and then we'll open it up in hour number 2. I'll take some comments from the people in the chat for questions for Johnny Mac on the game. And then we will, like I said, dive more into the game in hour number 2. John, let's start with what happened yesterday in Eagle Land. You met with Vic Fangio. You met with Kellen Moore. Just your takeaways from the day yesterday down there talking to the coordinators.
Yeah, take your medicine day for the coordinators after the collapse in the game against Atlanta. So I think it was, it's interesting. The third down play, I can't believe that's a thing, to be honest. I'd be frustrated if I were one of the offensive coaches. But Kellen Moore handled it well, as well as he could do. And he's a very political guy. I think the bigger issue was the defense and Vic, and not even necessarily for the game, the overriding early play of the defense and no pass rush, not able to tackle well, not able to stop the run consistently. There's not much else on defense.
Right.
You can't rush the passer. You can't tackle. You're not good in run support. That ain't good. It's only 2 games, but that ain't good. So I think he had the tougher task. I think, from Kellen's perspective, you just got to prevent yourself and say, from getting frustrated and say, dude, it was wide open. Stop it. Essentially.
Yeah.
I'd get to that point.
But give him a little J-Max. Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's ridiculous. As each day goes by and people still talk about it, I just shake my head. I don't know if it's a take, if it's done on purpose, or people are that obtuse. I mean, you're throwing the ball to your best player on the day because AJ's not there. It's simplest play in football. Catch the freaking ball. That's it. Period.
Well, John, it's something you've been telling me since I started doing this show in the offseason right after the NFL draft. And you've really been saying that well long before I've been doing this show. People don't judge play calls, they judge play results. And my only problem with the play, and we're going to wrap this up, we're not going to go into a tangent on this. My only problem with it is that the downside was bigger in terms of if you drop if the play wasn't completed. So from that perspective, I think that's what people are stuck on. But you're right. I mean, we gave the ball to Saquon Barkley, guys. He's got to make that catch. If he makes that catch, we're not having this conversation. and you should trust your players like the coaches do. So I do think
then you get into the layers of not trusting your players. So trust your players until this point, then don't trust them at all. And Kellen, as I said, he handled it well. He said, obviously.
Well, and by the way, Saquon Barkley was up over 200 yards on the season by that point. He had 100-yard
day as
he was
well.
having a great day. Yeah,
he was having a good day running the football. He was having a good day. He had four targets. He caught them all. And Kellen said, obviously, there's risk associated with that play, like any play, which is. That's one I've been banging my head off. Oh, 99 times. I don't care if it's 99 times out of 100. You could hand the ball off and you could fumble. You morons. I can't stand these people. And I'm not criticizing people in the chat or anybody who says it, but there's some people saying that with larger platforms, you can fumble at any point. You could argue with all the bodies inside, you're more likely to fumble than drop that football. You're by yourself. So I think Kellen's job was about stemming off the frustration, and I think Vic's job is about trying to figure out what the hell he can do with these underachieving defensive players.
Well, what did Vic have to say? Because boy, this defense is not in a good spot. I mean, you said it at the open. If you can't stop the run and you can't get after the passer. You're not going to have a good defense. You're not going to have a good, and you can't tackle. You're not going to have a good defense in the modern NFL. What did Vic have to say yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, he went the Andy Reid route about doing a better job preparing the guys with better technique and better discipline, which is true. Certainly when it comes to run gaps and run fits. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's got to get better. So some of that is true, but that's not what people want to hear. And he was very honest when he talked about the lack of success on first and second down, turning you can't get into known pass, so the pass rush isn't going to be there. So, as he phrased it is, until we do a better job of playing the run, they aren't coming. Because you're not getting a known pass.
Right.
So when you talk about sacks and pressures, and when are they coming? They're not.
Yeah.
Unless you do a better job.
6.7 yards per carry right now that defense is giving up.
Yeah, it's not good.
And how much, by the way, we talked about a little bit of the third down defense yesterday and how they're third in the NFL in third down, and they were
third and fifth in red zone. So
how much is that skewed because the defense is giving up so many in the run? They're not getting in any third down situation, or not as many third down situations.
Well, the percentage is.
What are they on first down? Are they last in the league in first down?
No, they're not good, but the percentage isn't skewed, but the sample size might be skewed.
Yeah, okay.
You're only grading third downs, and that's why that stat. Every stat in football needs about 1 million lines of context because when you talk about third down percentage, well, 3rd and 12 is graded the same as 3rd and 1. And obviously you're more likely to get 3rd and 1 than 3rd and 12. So, and teams obviously go much deeper into it. You got 3rd and long, third and intermediate, and 3rd and short. And teams understand the difference, obviously. But, when you talk about those stats that you see, 3rd down, 3rd in the league, I mean, yeah, that includes all third downs, and there's no differential. So, but that's every stat. This is not a stat-based sport. I talk about it all the time, and people are obsessed with stats, and they love stats. And it's not a stat-based sport. It's not baseball. Just that the sample size is not large enough.
Yeah. Vic's other comments that stood out, I think it's pretty incredible, John, that we've already reached a point where Vic has to clarify that Bryce Huff is going to be the starter still. Like, this guy got paid $17 million in the offseason, and we're after week 2, and the defensive coordinator is telling us he's going to start. He better fucking start. I mean, are you kidding me? We're not even at the point where he's trying to talk about, he's going to get better. He's like, oh, no, he's still going to start. You better hope he's starting, or else we got a big problem.
Well, and I would take it a step further. If he's not starting, who is starting?
Yeah. No, the first round draft pick that evidently is a massive bust. That's who would be starting.
So you're not going to Nolan Smith. I argue Brandon Graham should start at 36 years old or whatever Brandon is.
Gotta love
Um,
Brandon Graham, man.
but at first down, he's a better run defender. So first of all, I don't care about starter. It's who plays the most, who closes, who's out there on third down key situations. So, but I get why the question is asked.
Yeah, because he's a major liability in run defense, and if you can't stop the run, as we said, you're not going to have chances to pin your ears back and go get the
I wouldn't start him, and I would have no problem with it. And I would play Brandon on most first downs. I'm not saying every first down, but most first downs. And I would bring him in to be a pass rusher. And maybe as he develops and gets a little bit better, if he does, then you could go in down the other route. But that's the reality of the NFL. When you pay a guy big money, people want to see him on the field. It's most obviously quarterback, where you throw all these young quarterbacks on the field. They're all not ready, every single one of them. But they got to throw them on the field because of what they pay them and where they picked them on the draft. And it ruins some guys. Some guys are mentally tough to handle it enough. But the CJ Strouds of the world who hit the ground running, those are very, very rare.
Yeah, few and far between with them.
Yeah. And most guys need, and you've seen it with the Geno Smiths, the ex-Jets quarterbacks, Sam Darnold's of the world. They go through a bunch of hiccups, and then all of a sudden they wake up one day and they go, yeah, that guy's not bad.
Yeah.
He's not terrible.
A lot of that in the league right now, John. Baker and Darnold and a couple of those other guys.
Baker,
but it's funny because everybody in the league, including myself, and I think even maybe you got to correct me if I'm wrong. We all criticized Atlanta for drafting, the guy that they drafted, but maybe zigging when everybody's zagging and doing what the Packers did with Jordan Love, what Kansas City did with Patrick Mahomes, sitting these first rounders down for a couple of years, giving them a chance to grow and learn behind somebody is a better move. I'm not saying we don't know.
Yeah, I more criticize Atlanta for paying the 36-year-old guy coming off an Achilles $180 million or whatever they paid him, and knowing that it's a very short-term investment. But they're a desperate team that hasn't been doing well.
Yeah, I just mean the idea of drafting a quarterback high and then you don't have to throw him into the fire.
No, that's a good place to be in. And I said, ironically, Minnesota is in a better position because of JJ McCarthy getting hurt. Because Sam Darnold's going to have some hiccups, and
he looks good. He's a big arm, dude.
Yeah, he's got a very nice touch with that big arm.
Yes, he does. That 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson, that was just as good on Sam Darnold as it was on Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. And but the minute the hiccups, and they might start this week, they're playing Houston. Houston's a better team. Houston's loaded. Houston might be the most talented team in the NFL. They got a great pass rush. It might start this week. And if JJ McCarthy was healthy, you'd hear the groundswell out there. Oh, you got to get him on the field. You got to get him on the field. And I don't know, maybe Kevin O'Connell, maybe he's strong enough to handle that. Maybe he isn't. But there's such pressure to get those guys on the field. In a weird way, it actually helped them.
Yeah. And I bet you it helps JJ too.
Oh, it's definitely going to help him.
Yeah.
And now they're forced to go with Sam Darnold, who they should go with anyway. But that's the nature of the NFL, and you saw it last night with Jacoby Brissett getting killed, and Drake May's got to come in a little bit. Now they're already. Yeah, I already saw some questions to Gerard Mayo about. Are you going to start Drake May? It's started. It's already bang. Got a bad game. You got to get Drake May on the field.
Yeah, right.
And they don't have an offensive line. They don't have skill position play. They're not ready for Drake May to play, even if he could play. And he can't play. But he's going to be out there.
So it's a double whammy. He can't play, and they're not ready for him to play. Let's get back real quick to the Eagles. We talked about that pass rush. We talked about Bryce Huff and what Vic had to say yesterday. A lot of fans calling for maybe Jalix Hunt to get some opportunity out there. You think that's way too early for them to even consider that, or is that rotation potentially coming down the pike? And we do have a super chat here that I'll bring up about the same point. Vulnerable Vitality. Appreciate you, brother, for supporting the show this morning. He says, you haven't seen the Jalix Hunt to start, fans? LOL, insanity. Also, breaking Embiid got a new contract. I'll check out the Embiid contract. But look, there are a lot of fans who are calling for Jalix because they're like, it can't be worse than it is right now.
Boy, Bryce Huff's getting pushed around in the running game. And if you saw Bryce Huff in person, that dude is jacked.
He's a husky dude, yeah.
Jalix Hunt is not ready to play from a physical standpoint. He's probably one of those guys that needs to get in an NFL, which he is, in an NFL weight program, get 10, 15 pounds heavier, more importantly, add strength and weight. Yeah, I don't know if you see some of these left tackles, and Trent Williams, San Francisco is not on the Eagles' schedule. The Penei Sewells of the world, the Christian Darrisaw's of the world. You do not want to see Jalix Hunt against those types of players. Now, can you throw them on there situationally as a athletic speed rusher? Sure. Right. But you don't want to see that guy right now for a heavy load of snaps, because NFL tackles will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Especially the really good ones.
Yeah. Pump the brakes, everybody, on Jalix Hunt. But I understand why they're calling for it, because look, I know it's early and I know we got to give a little bit of time here, but I completely understand why many people are upset with where this defense is right now. I mean, Bryce Huff paid all that money and he's done nothing. The run defense, the two guys, it's not like it's a lack of investment on the defense. Now, maybe you didn't pay the big money, but there's 3 first-round draft picks on that defensive line. I mean, none of them are doing anything. Nolan Smith, I can't get over Nolan Smith, John, right now. This pass rush is non-existent. Look, we have fans calling for Jalix Hunt to step up before we have fans calling for the first-round draft pick that was drafted to get after the quarterback. It's like nobody even thinks about Nolan Smith, because I think they've already written him off in their head.
I think I actually, that was one of his better games against Atlanta. But I think everybody got hyper focused on him, the chip block with Bijan, him getting knocked on his ass.
Just destroyed him.
But that's one play. I mean, I think overall it was one of his better games. That's not saying a lot. I don't think he was tremendous, but I actually think he showed some signs. Yeah, he's way farther along than Jalix Hunt. So, I mean, people have given up on the guy way too early. And I start with Carter and Davis before I get to Nolan and Bryce and everybody else.
I just mean from Bryce, I understand no pass rush, and nobody's like calling on the first-round draft pick to step up.
I'm calling crazy on the top 10 pick.
Me too.
Most talented player in the draft who lacked maturity, and that's the reason he fell to number 9. And he's getting not suspended, but he's getting punished. I'm calling on that guy first. There's no rule that says you can't get pass rush from the interior. See Aaron Donald. He's the guy I start with, because he's the foundation.
Right. Did you learn anything more, John, about that, about why he was sat down, or is it just been left?
He was sat down because he was late to some team.
I just didn't know if you got any more details or anything else you can share with us about that. Because I think fans are concerned. Remember, he had some of the.
I don't think they are, because I haven't heard much.
Out of college, so this is a guy that we're talking about building the future of our defense on. I think.
I don't. That's my point. I always hear about Bryce Huff, and I hear about Nolan Smith, and I even hear about Josh Sweat, and everybody kind of gives Jalen Carter a pass because his talent and the perception of where he's going as a player. He's not going to reach that perception if he isn't, I don't know what you want to call it, but doesn't increase the mature. We all talked about how they're going to replace Jason Kelce. Hadn't been an issue.
Hasn't been an issue.
Cam Jurgens has been, there've been hiccups. He's got to stop running 40-yard dashes on RPOs.
Running slant routes.
And he's got, he had the couple hiccups with snaps in the crappy field in Brazil.
Yeah. Jason also had a couple of those problems too.
Yeah.
So, he can't put it,
would fire him back like it was Nolan Ryan. So that was an issue occasionally. No issues whatsoever with Cam Jurgens. Big issues with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. We're going to bring up Ed Kratz after the break here, but we'll talk about that with Ed, because guess what? They're not handling this adversity well either. Fletcher would sit there and answer questions. Brandon Graham sits there and answers. These guys don't want to handle adversity. All these Georgia guys. They don't want to be in the locker room. They don't want to answer questions because they're not playing well. That's not a good sign.
That's not. It doesn't sound like they're NFL ready coming out of that program. I know they're winning a lot of games there, but that's not a good sign. Let's get to our commercial break. We'll talk about this with Ed Kratz from SI.com, one of the best in the business covering this team. We're going to talk to Ed coming up next. Before I do that, I know we're an Eagles show, everybody. Are there any Sixers fans in the chat? Joel Embiid signs a 3-year, $193 million max extension with a player option in 28-29. I'll talk to you in 2029, 76ers fans. I'll talk to you then when that team might be finally ready to do something. But
I don't have a new arena in Chinatown by that time.
Oh, what a stupid move. I think that's dumb. I mean, we have one of the greatest sports complexes when you talk about all four in the same vicinity. I get it. Not everybody.
They're second-class citizens in that building. Don't even get me
started. No, I do agree that they deserve to not have to pay rent like that. I agree, but I wish they would have worked out a deal to do something there and build their own stadium there.
Blame the Flyers then.
Yeah, that's true.
Blame Comcast.
That's true. I do think it's going to have some negative effects on the city, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. I don't travel through the city much.
Yeah, I hope they put it in Camden. It'd be easier for me.
Yeah, yeah, really. All right, we'll get to our first commercial break. Ed Kratz coming up next, everybody. Before I do that, I want to tell you guys about BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. This is the best betting partner where you can put your money, and they have recently launched a new promo for all of you guys on YouTube. Check out that graphic, everybody. 150% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. So you're going to get more back and deposit less. It's up to $2,000. So you guys will be sitting pretty with those first couple deposits with a bunch of extra money to play with here, betting on the Eagles, betting on Saquon Barkley, betting on all sorts of things. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and you can even get your own custom account manager to help you make your bet. So go to betus.com.pa. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the show today. We'll be back in 3 minutes on Birds 365 with Ed Kratz.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.